Have you been getting the real story on the war between Israel and Hamas? Or have you only been seeing what Hamas wants you to see? We have an inside report on how Hamas manipulates the news media.
Israel is pulling its troops out of Gaza today as a ceasefire begins, but many say Hamas is winning the media war. Chris Mitchell explains why.
For more than a month, Israel's efforts to stop Gaza rocket fire and destroy Hamas tunnels has made headlines and led newscasts around the world. Two images dominate the war between Israel and Hamas. On one side is Israel's military actions, like airstrikes, artillery, and ground troops. On the other side, video of Palestinians suffering, wounded, or killed in those military actions. But what's missing?
In Gaza, we have not seen Hamas fighters. They are not roaming the streets of Gaza City. They're not carrying weapons. Where are they? We've never seen those pictures in 4 weeks of reporting from this region.
The impression creating is you have an Israeli army fighting and you have Palestinians on the other side. And that's already playing into Hamas's media strategy.
Hamas media watchdogs also crush what they consider negative reports. Hamas expelled this reporter from the Gaza Strip for his reports on Twitter. CBN News' George Thomas spoke with him inside Gaza.
He came to us telling us that he was hauled in by Hamas militants and interrogated and threatened, and they gave him 24 hours to get out of the Strip.
Italian journalist Gabriele Barbati posted this on Twitter only after leaving Hamas-controlled Gaza. Out of Gaza, far from Hamas retaliation, misfired rocket killed children yesterday in Shati. Witness, militants rushed and cleared debris. His tweet corroborated the IDF account that Hamas rockets, not the IDF, hit the Al-Shifa hospital on July 28th. Filmmaker Michael Grinspan posted this exchange with a Spanish journalist on Facebook. How come we never see on television channels reporting from Gaza any Hamas people? He answered me frankly, it's very simple. We did see Hamas people there launching rockets. They were close to our hotel. But if ever we dare pointing our camera on them, they would simply shoot at us and kill us. Oren says keeping the Western world in the dark works with predictable and devastating consequences.
And they're using the civilian population as human shields. And so Israel, no matter how cautious it is, it invariably ends up causing civilian casualties. That creates very painful pictures on television screens that immediately incites the streets, that immediately translates into diplomatic pressure in the Security Council and human rights groups.
There was evidence that Hamas was using hospitals, schools, civilian neighborhoods, mosques to launch their rockets. There was evidence of that, but they did not want the Western world to know that.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Managing the news, you think you're getting it straight? Well, hopefully you're getting it straight here, and we want to tell you what's happening because our reporters tell it like it is. Well, in other news, did an experimental drug help save the lives of the 2 Americans infected with the Ebola? John Jessup has that story from Washington.
Pat, the second American affected with Ebola arrives home today. Both Nancy Wright-Bull and Dr. Kent Brantley, the other American infected with the virus, are reportedly improving after receiving that experimental drug. Caitlin Burke has the story.
It's a drug never tested on humans, used out of desperation. It's known as ZMapp, and it seems to be working. Nancy Wright-Bull and Dr. Kent Brantley each received a dose of the drug before leaving Liberia. The effects are noticeable.
She was eating a little bit, able to take in fluid, so we're cautiously optimistic.
Brantley is also getting stronger. He was given both a dose of ZMapp and a unit of blood from an Ebola survivor, giving him antibodies the patient's body may have made to fight the virus.
ZMapp is part of an ongoing research program backed by the U.S. government and military. It works by boosting the body's immune system, and it's made from antibodies produced by animals who have been exposed to parts of Ebola.
Still, there's no known cure for the virus, and doctors remain hesitant to call the drug or any other treatment a success so early on. Meanwhile, an Ebola outbreak continues to ravage 3 African countries. Today, the death toll hovering close to 900. Despite the risk, missionary doctors like Dr. Brantley continue to be on the front lines.
If you look back in history, clear back into 260 AD, when there was an epidemic in Italy, 5 million people died of smallpox. And Christian leaders at that time wrote about Christians out in the street taking care of these people, actually sacrificing their lives to take care of others.
Health officials here in the U.S. remain on alert, with CDC staff at 20 U.S. airports and border crossings evaluating passengers with possible symptoms. No cases here have been reported. One patient was treated in a New York hospital with Ebola-like symptoms, but initial tests show it's unlikely he has the virus. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
To watch the full interview with Dr. David Stearns and to hear him talk about the faith and dedication of Dr. Brantley, you can go to our website, cbnnews.com. Pat?
Well, ISIS, back to the Middle East, seems to be showing extraordinary strength. They've moved into the north area and are battling the Peshmerga, which are the troops that the Kurds have put together. And actually, they've overrun several cities. It looks like in fierce fighting, the Kurds have won back those areas. They also, ISIS also took control of a major dam that in turn controls the water flow all the way down into the Tigris Valley. It's a very strategic thing. And it seems, from what I gather, that the Kurds are getting it back. But what is our posture toward the Kurds? I've been mentioning the fact we helped them against Saddam Hussein. They have set up an enclave there that is free and pro-market and pro-American. And what are we doing to help them? It seems to be the answer is zero, because our president is too concerned with raising money at various fundraisers. But we owe the Kurds something, and we need to do something. It was a good editorial in the Wall Street Journal. I've been talking about this thing, but we need to do something. And the government in Baghdad has finally agreed to let air power come to support the Kurds, because it's the only fighting force in the north. And this ISIS is getting stronger and stronger, and if they gain additional territory, and if they can get the oil fields in Kirkuk, they're going to be so rich and so powerful, it'll be very impossible, very difficult to dislodge them. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's something that we're going to keep abreast of. We'll give you a report on it tomorrow as well. But I just think you need to watch it. It's something that is extremely important. And again, our government is doing nothing. And it just makes you sick to see this whole thing falling apart, because from the political thing and the public relations thing, Obama has said, well, the war is over and we're out, and so we can't get back in because that'll mean that my previous press briefing wasn't accurate. Well, a lot of them haven't been accurate, but at least let's correct something now. Now's the time. We need to airlift all kinds of weapons, if nothing else, small arms and ammunition and mortars and that kind of thing, over to those Peshmergas so they can have somebody to fight with. They're willing to fight, and they're willing to defend that and to take ground against this ISIS. But otherwise, there's going to be this caliphate. They will soon overrun a large part of Syria. Then they'll be threatening Jordan. And then, very possibly, they can begin to threaten Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and the whole Middle East. It is a very volatile situation we cannot allow to stand. But are we doing anything as a nation, as a government? No, because we've got feckless leaders. If you ever pray for anything, pray on this one. John?
Pat, it's possible terrorists could put together a dirty bomb using the Ebola virus. That's a warning from a biological anthropologist at Cambridge University in England. Dr. Peter Walsh told the Sun newspaper the virus is well protected in laboratories, but if terrorists could capture it in the wild in West Africa, it could be put in a bomb and later detonated in a heavily populated area. He said it could cause a large number of horrific deaths, and he also said it is a threat that should be taken very seriously. Well, on a lighter note, if you want to get an idea of what your horses are thinking, just watch their ears. The London Daily Mail reports that a study has found horses can read faces just like people do, but they also get crucial information by paying attention to each other's ears. For example, if a horse is relaxed, it flops down its ears, but if it's angry, it pins them back. The ears are so important that if they're covered up, horses can have a hard time trying to figure out what the other one is thinking. And Pat, I guess that means we need to rethink the phrase straight from the horse's mouth.
That's right, brother.
So tell me, can you read your horse by his
Absolutely.
ears?
Oh, absolutely. When I'm riding, I watch his ears. Of course I do.
Really?
That's why I talk to them all the time, because they get their ears back. They want to hear what you're saying. they do. And,
how are his investments going?
And when they're alert, their ears are pricked forward and they're looking at stuff. And if they don't like what you're doing, they pin their ears back, get out of the way, because they go bite the daylights out of you or kick you. I mean, they pin their ears back.
So that would be a good one to know.
Especially. But oh yeah, they'll talk to you. I mean, you've got to know Equus. I'm a kindergarten learner of Equus, the horse language.
Yeah, but you are the horse whisperer when it comes
really?
to your
I mean,
horse.
when you train him, they'll give you signals. You know, little baby does his mouth like this, and I'm a little kid, don't beat me up. And you know that they talk.
They know what they're saying.
And if you know what you're doing with them, but when you really get them relaxed, they go. Then you know you've scored. You know, if they hurt and you're massaging or something and they begin to sigh, it means that pain has left them.
Yeah, a little more to the left. And
That's right. Oh, they do that. Yeah, I had
That's
one that was
great.
doing that. You know, hold his head and scratch my back. Oh, they're wonderful creatures.
The Church of England is calling on Britain's government to open its doors to Christians fleeing persecution in Iraq. The London Guardian newspaper reports a growing number of bishops are speaking out. They say the UK has a moral obligation to help the Christian community because of its role in the 2003 invasion. An estimated 1 million Christians lived in Iraq before the invasion, but most have fled due to attacks by jihadists and sectarian violence. In June, militants took over the ancient Christian city of Mosul, forcing tens of thousands to flee. France has already announced it will give asylum to Iraqi Christians. Well, whoever said praying doesn't pay hasn't eaten at Mary's Gourmet Diner in North Carolina. HLN TV reports the Winston-Salem Diner gives a 15% discount to those who say a blessing before they dig in. Although the restaurant has been offering that special for years, a Christian radio station in Orlando posted this receipt with the discount, and it gained widespread attention. Patron Jordan Smith told HLN she and her colleagues prayed before their meal, and then later the waitress came over, surprising them, saying, "You're getting a 15% discount just for praying." Secret's out. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.